All right, so I'm just going to remind you where we picked off and what this chapter has covered so far. So we did an introduction of organic chemistry, what chemical bonds are, Lewis structures, and then other ways to show molecules. Molecules that show up a lot more often in organic chemistry, especially in bond line and condensed formula. We talked about isomers, and then we talked about using curved arrows. And now what I want to talk about is drawing resonance structures. Now, drawing resonance structures can be hard because you're using the things that we've just talked about. So you're going to have to use the bond line formula that we just talked about, and you're going to have to think about where lone pairs are, and you're going to have to use that to assume where they might move to. It's using, and you're going to have to use curved arrows. So it's using all the things that you've just learned. And so it's kind of like learning a new language and then immediately needing to be fluent in it, which I feel like is kind of a lot of expectation. So if you want to practice a little bit before we get into resonance theory, that is the strength that you have in an online class that you might not have in an in-person class is you can pause this video, you can go practice and then come back to it. But I'm going to go ahead and move forward. And like I said, you can comment down below and I can try to answer questions. Or if you're in my class, you can always come to my office hours. You can go to the TAs, you can go to the study groups. There's lots of other options for you. Resonance is something that doesn't go away. It's going to come back a lot in organic chemistry. And it is something that students tend to have a harder time with. And I'm going to do everything I can to make it accessible for you, but it is just something that students tend to struggle with. Okay, so let's get started. So my favorite example of resonance theory, and because of copyright concerns, I can't draw a picture of this for you, so you'll have to use your imagination and think of the Hulk. Okay, so at the beginning of the Hulk movies, think about if you've seen those before, there is a professor, Bruce Banner, who is a man. And if he gets angry or whatever, he hulks out and turns into this super strong green man. And so in the beginning of the movies, he is moving back and forth between a male professor person and this green monster. And resonance theory is often depicted like that, where these two separate structures that are interconverting between one another. But in reality, it's more like what happens at the end of the movie. So here's a little bit of a spoiler, but at the very end, what happens is the Hulk gets to stay the Hulk, but then he gets to keep his mind as Bruce Banner, and they call him Professor Hulk, I think, maybe Dr. Hulk. I can't ever remember. I always get a correction on this. But so that is my resonance theory best example, is that resonance theory is often represented by two separate structures, but in reality, it's a mixture of these two structures. And you've probably learned about this in Gen Chem before, but why that matters is because we're limited in how we can represent molecules. So if electrons are shared over a certain area, that might mean that, okay, these electrons are shared over this area. How do we draw that? How do we represent that on a paper? We need to be able to communicate that because that has implications for if they might be polar or not, or how they might react with other things. And so it matters. We need to know how to do it, but how do you do it? And so this is the best way chemists have come up with to represent these two structures. So this is an example, going back to that Bruce Banner and the Hulk thing, is we have benzene. And if you'll notice, these are, it's a 6-membered ring with alternating double bonds. So you have sort of a hexagon with these 6 carbons together. And between the first and second carbon, there's a double bond, and then between the third and fourth, and then the fifth and sixth. And now we have curved arrows indicating that the bond between 1 and 2 is going to flip over and be between 1 and 6. And the bond between 5 and 6 will move over and be now between 4 and 5. And then the one between 3 and 4 will flip over and now it'll be between 2 and 3. So even though these look like the same molecule, they're not. It's actually an average of these two altogether. And we know that because a double bond is shorter than a single bond, right? We have done scientific experiments to be able to tell that a double bond is a shorter length than a single bond. But in benzene, in this molecule, that this is the only way we know how to represent it, it actually is a hybrid of the two, and all of the bonds are exactly halfway between a 1 and 2 length bond. So it's like a 1.5 length instead of being fully a single bond length or fully a double bond length. And so in theory, we could draw maybe with these dotted lines, but resonance can get really complicated and that doesn't always work. And it's not always a perfectly even distribution. So that's why we have resonance structures. And there is independent evidence that these things are really sharing electrons in this way. So I'm going to give you my rules of resonance and then we can go through them together. I'm sorry again about these pictures. They're a little grainy here on the video. I did figure out what was causing it and I'll fix it in the PowerPoint before the semester, but for right now, it's just not great. So the first rule is that the actual molecule is best represented by a hybrid or an average of all the molecules that you're going to see. So the example that I have down here, it has a molecule on the left that has a double bond between a carbon and an oxygen. And then on the molecule on the right, it has a single bond between the carbon and an oxygen, which left a positive charge behind on the oxygen or on the carbon and a negative charge on the oxygen. And we know that from formal charge. So that's how we know it's positive and negative. But so essentially one of these electrons, this is a chance for you to use your curved arrows, one of these bonds that's made up of 2 electrons have left the bond area and now it's fully going to spend time on the oxygen. So we have these 2 individual molecules, but really the best representation is an average of those, where there's a partial positive on the carbon and a partial negative on the oxygen, somewhere in between. So in these structures, the positions of atoms can't change. So if a hydrogen moves or a carbon moves, that's no longer a resonance structure, that's now a reaction. All the structures have to be proper Lewis structures. So we can't have like 5 bonds to carbon. Carbon doesn't have enough valence shells for that. It would be an overly full octet. Or we can't have like 4 bonds to hydrogen. It can only have 1 bond to it. So you still have to follow the Lewis rules. You can't have less than a full octet, but you can't have more than a full octet. And the overall hybrid is more stable than either individual molecule. You can use curved arrows, and you should only use curved arrows to demonstrate the movement of electrons, just like we talked about in the last video. So if you don't feel confident on that, you can go back and review it. And then you'll notice between these 2 carbons, or these 2 molecules, there's a double-headed arrow. And that double-headed arrow is a resonance arrow. It's different from an equilibrium arrow, and it is specifically for resonance to indicate these 2 molecules are switching back and forth between one another. And if you'll notice, I did use that same double-headed arrow when I was showing the Hulk and Bruce Banner. There's this double-headed arrow. Okay. And then the structure should be enclosed in brackets. So that's not too many rules to remember, but it is a lot more challenging for students, I think, to put that into practice. And I did already mention that we know this because of formal charge. We know, I forgot that I put this practice problem in, so you can take a break and pause the video real quick, and see if you can calculate the formal charge. Do you still remember that formal charge? This is kind of your first time you're taking everything we learned and you're putting it all together. So do you remember why the oxygen is negative and why the carbon is positive based on formal charge in that second structure? So hopefully you've paused the video and you've done that already. If not, I strongly recommend that you do that. I've mentioned before a few times that that's best for your learning is for you to make a guess or to attempt the question before. So we have a molecule and it's a little bit blurry, so I'll redraw it and it looks like this. And so then the resonance structure has this bond right here between the carbon and oxygen moving up. So I'm going to draw an arrow that starts at that bond and moves up to the oxygen. So now our oxygen has 4 carbons, it's negatively charged, and our carbon is positively charged. And the whole thing is enclosed in brackets. So the question is, why is this positively charged and that's negatively charged? So I'm going to draw the carbon in and the oxygen. So for formal charge, we're looking at how many valence electrons that everything has, or that each atom has, if it would be evenly divided. So we look at, on the periodic table, how many valence electrons does carbon have? Carbon has 4 on the periodic table, valence electrons. And then I said you could do minus dots, minus lines, or minus lone pairs, and minus number of electrons and bonds. So we have 1, 2, 3 bonds. We have no lone pairs around this carbon. And so that gets us to 1. So 1 would be positive 1 right there. And we know that there's not a hydrogen there because this carbon has 4 things bonded to it and no atoms can move. There's 3 implied hydrogens over here and 3 implied hydrogens over here because carbon has to have 4 bonds to be neutral. We learned that from our condensed bond line form, or sorry, from our bond line formula. And so this carbon has 4 bonds, and so only the electrons can leave. We're not adding any atoms to it, and that's why we have a positive charge here. Now this oxygen is in the 16th column, so it has 6 valence electrons, and it has 1 bond to it, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 electrons. So 6 minus 1 is 5. 5 minus 6 is negative 1. Put a negative charge for that. So that's why we have a negative there. So that's kind of a review of formal charge and condensed or bond line formula. But all these things are going to come together and you're going to need to be able to use them all at once to be able to draw resonance structures. So it's kind of a lot, but I have every confidence in you. Okay, I think I will stop there and we can start the next one off with another practice problem. I think that would be kind of a fun place to break. So I'll stop here and then we'll start with more resonance in the next video.